Yeah, it says record.
Okay. Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Within our lecture series at Carnegie Mellon School of Architecture, the faculty speaker is simultaneously an exceptional event and just another entry. It is noteworthy because we get to showcase the talents and accomplishments of a community member in especially prominent fashion, to observe their professional work with great interest and scrutiny. And still, like any other lecture in the series, we come here with high expectations and the same standards of excellence that we apply to our most distinguished visitors. For this reason, I am especially happy to welcome Arthur Lubetz as the faculty lecturer in the Carnegie Mellon School of Architecture lecture series. Arthur is well known to his students and colleagues as a rigorous and outspoken studio professor. He insists that student work be rooted in architectural experience and supported by literacy in architecture, visual art, and philosophy. He is also very much a designer who practices what he preaches. While frequently declaring that architecture is a public art, he operates a practice that is committed to this ideal. His works have been exhibited in galleries as close as the Heinz Architectural Center in Pittsburgh and as far away as the Sarajevo Winter Cultural Festival in Bosnia, amongst numerous other locations. Nor is the commitment to architecture as art limited to specialized vignettes of high-end construction. Arthur has a career-long interest and expertise in low-cost housing, to which he brings a characteristically brash but human artistry. Examining his Bennett Place housing low-rise in Pittsburgh's Homewood neighborhood, Architectural Record praised him for scoping out HUD guidelines to find pockets of creative license. The same publication gave one of its inaugural Architecture in the Public Interest Awards to Lubetz Lincoln Towers high-rise in Secaucus, New Jersey, praising its contagious vitality and energetically sculptural form. Indeed, contagious vitality aptly describes art's practice as a whole. Not only has he taught at Carnegie Mellon since 1988, but his office has become an important center for capable practitioners, promising students, and aspiring educators. While numerous CMU students and graduates have worked for Arthur, a gratifying large contingent of our current faculty has spent some part of their careers working in his Craig Street studio, a structure that Architecture Magazine praised as an office building that is both a billboard and a sculpture. Since anyone who thinks art is only in the business of making audacious buildings, sorry, I tripped on that one.
The end.
Should consider his record as a preservationist and community activist. As president of Preservation Pittsburgh in 2000, he helped lead a successful movement to block the destruction of 6 square blocks of historic buildings in downtown Pittsburgh. He was also a co-founding member of the Pittsburgh Community Design Center and served as one of its earliest board members. Arthur takes inspiration from Pittsburgh's landscapes in his designs, even as he gives back to the community in his community service. Arthur was born in Pittsburgh and graduated from Taylor Alderdice High School. He earned a Bachelor of Architecture degree from Carnegie Institute of Technology in 1963 and opened his own practice in 1967. He has been designing and building with great distinction since then. It's a privilege to have a practitioner of such dynamism, vitality, and achievement on our faculty and as part of our series. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the special pleasure of welcoming tonight's lecturer, Arthur Lubetz.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Laura and Charles for inviting me to do this. And I have been going to lectures in this school for 48 years. And I decided, well, first of all, I have to tell you that Karen lectured me on not being sarcastic. Laura lectured me on keeping my language in check. So in order to make this somewhat unusual event, the sound, which is opera that sounds like rock and roll, and the lights. And I owe the sound and the lights to Chris Popovich. It's a particular honor to be here because of the company of the other people that are presenting to you this semester. It's really amazing the number and the quality of the lectures that we've started to have. But this evening, I'm not going to go through a series of my projects, slide after slide after slide. I'm going to talk about some of the issues that I feel are important, and I'm going to use a series of individual images to illustrate the point or just fill up space. I've been teaching here for 18 years, and all of that time I've been urging my students to base their personal views on architecture on their own individual observations and experience. So that's what I've decided to do tonight. I'm going to present a mini memoir and a mini personal history that outlines what have been important personal encounters. They deal with the arts, they deal with senses, they deal with experience, and they deal with incompletion. But the two most important things, the two major issues I want to address tonight are communication and the importance of the body in architecture. This sort of reflection or reflections is a way of illuminating some of the thoughts and experiences and issues of broader architectural consequences that have shaped my own work and, most importantly, my views. From a personal perspective, everything that I read and everything that I experience somehow ends up flowing through the main river of my life, which is and has been architecture for a long time. And I might say that I was looking for images that people have not seen or that they can't see on our website. So later on I've included images from my absolutely very first project got me started in practice. But I've always been in pursuit of a public means of communication for architecture. And for that, I've looked to the arts, philosophy, psychology, neuroscience, and several other disciplines also. So this talk is the result of my reflections, and some of those elements more than it is about my practice. In some measure, at least, it answers the question, why art? Why me? Which is really dangerous territory to contemplate. The arts have been and continue to be a major influence on my work. Music, writing, film, especially dance, because dancers move with an immediacy and a presence through space, and it's all choreographed through time. And art particularly, I found a major influence because it connects emotionally and intellectually with the viewer in a way that architecture rarely does. As Laura said, I was born in Pittsburgh, and I have deep roots here. I've really absorbed this city. I really love this city. I knock it a lot, but I love it deep down. Because of its beautiful, rugged geography, its rivers, and the diversity of its people and neighborhoods, which I think is its strongest point. And also I have memories of the images of the steel mills, which I used to live on a hill overlooking Homestead and draw and paint for years when I was growing up. I've lived here all my life, and I went to college here. This place influences all of our work. When I was a freshman here, a course called The History of Arts and Civilization left a real mark on me. It was literally one of the first actual classes that I sat through. It was a required course for all the freshmen in the College of Fine Arts. And it explored and talked about the way the arts all interrelated and were influenced by culture. The richness of that course, the discussions, the debates, and the friendships, because they had lectures for 3 days and then they had seminar courses for 2 days. And the seminar courses were with people from all the disciplines. Produced in me a holistic view of architecture that I don't think I would have had without it. And that's why I've been suggesting for 10 years, actually, that the course be taught again. And I've included it tonight because I hope somebody would be here that might take that seriously. I'm really in love with architecture and what I do, especially my teaching. And I wouldn't do anything else. For me, architecture is the most exciting and the most important expression of our culture. But apparently a lot of people don't share that view, because less than 5% of the custom buildings in America are done by architects. Donald Judd once said sarcastically, and this is a quote, "I looked in the El Paso phone book, and there were 2,500 architects. And I've never seen any architecture in El Paso." 2/3 of the world doesn't even know what architecture is. For the other third, if architecture is too present, the architecture and the architect who produced it are resented. On at least 2 occasions, I can attest to that, because I remember taking blows, both verbal and physical, because of my work. I was once physically attacked at a public presentation of one of my buildings by a little old lady with a very large, heavy pocketbook, which she began beating me with because she had heard that I was proposing, quote, an awful modern building. And the awful part was only because it was modern. On another occasion, I was verbally assaulted at a Christmas party. I was standing talking to a group of people, and a woman came up to join the group, and she happened to see my name tag, which she recognized, and she wheeled around and looked right in my face and spit at me. "Arthur Lubetz, I hate your work. It's ugly." Not wanting to have her have the last word, I pointed to the puffy shoulder of the ridiculous-looking outfit she was wearing, and I said, "That's the ugliest dress I've ever seen." She responded, "You are very rude." There was not much to be gained by trying to change that woman's view of my work, and I didn't really care. And my aim tonight is not to persuade you of anything either, but simply to encourage you to think, which is what I tell my students. Think. To think about the architecture you see